China censored the word for censorship. I guess you can't be guilty of a crime if nobody can describe what it is. One Norwegian town has a super ironic name. There's a village in southern Norway actually named Hell. And get this, every winter it freezes over. Carrots just might turn you orange. If you eat enough carrots, about 3 large carrots a day for several weeks, it increases the beta-carotene in your blood and could turn your skin orange. Terrorist instructions were once replaced with cupcakes. Britain's Secret Intelligence Service once hacked an Al-Qaeda website and replaced the bomb instructions with a cupcake recipe. High heels were originally for men. When high-heel shoes first came into fashion in the 10th century, they were intended for men. It wasn't until the 18th century that more women wore high heels than men. People hate privacy policies, and reading the fine print in general. It would take 76 workdays, if you work an 8-hour day, to read every online privacy policy you agree to in an average year. More people speak Mandarin Chinese than any other language. With around 950 million native speakers and an additional 200 million people speaking Mandarin Chinese as a second language, it's the most widely spoken language in the world. 4 babies are born every second. Every second, we welcome 4 new babies into our overall population. Do a little math and you'll find out that means there are approximately 250 births each minute, 15,000 each hour, and 360,000 each day. Some passengers go to insane lengths to avoid baggage fees. In 2012, a man wore 60 shirts and 9 pairs of jeans on an 11.5-hour flight from China to Africa because he didn't want to pay the extra baggage fee. Though hilarious, we don't recommend it. Hunting unicorns is legal in Michigan. Lake Superior State University in Michigan offers a unicorn hunting license. Unsurprisingly, the chief herald of the unicorn hunters was once quoted saying, "The pursuit of the unicorn is a lonely quest. We wish them nothing but good luck." Only 2 countries use purple in their national flags. The flag of Nicaragua features a rainbow in the center that includes a band of purple, while the flag of Dominica boasts a picture of a Cicero parrot, a bird with purple feathers. These elements make them the only 2 flags in the world that use the color purple. Someone actually paid $10,000 for invisible artwork. An art collector once paid $10,000 for a non-visible sculpture created by actor James Franco. The artwork was billed as an endless tank of oxygen. Yeah. It's called air. We're breathing some now, for free. South Sudan is the youngest country in the world. Some countries are hundreds of years old, while others can trace their nation's history back for thousands of years. But South Sudan in North Africa just gained its independence from Sudan in 2011, which currently makes it the youngest country in the world. There's an American town with a population of 1. Monowi, Nebraska, is the only town in the United States with an official population of 1 person. Yes, she owes taxes. To herself. She's in her 80s, and she's employed as the village's mayor, librarian, and bartender. There are 41 countries that recognize sign language as an official language. There are estimated to be 72 million deaf people around the world. There are also about 300 different sign languages, including American Sign Language and International Sign Language, as well as 41 countries that recognize them as an official language. Muhammad is thought to be the most popular name in the world. Step aside John, James, Mary, and Jane. The most popular name in the world is believed to be Muhammad. According to The Independent, an estimated 150 million men and boys around the world share this name. The popularity is thanks to a Muslim tradition of naming every firstborn son after the Islamic prophet. The entire world's population could fit inside Los Angeles. The world's total population is more than 7.5 billion. And obviously, that number sounds huge. However, it might feel a little more manageable once you learn that if every single one of those people stood shoulder to shoulder, they could all fit within the 500 square miles of Los Angeles, according to National Geographic. People 60 years and older make up 12.3% of the global population. Although the majority of the human population is currently under 30 years old, there are still plenty of older folks among us. In fact, over 12% of people on Earth are 60 years old and older. That number is expected to reach 22% by 2050. There are more than 24 time zones around the world. More than 52% of the world's population is under 30 years old. According to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, as of 2012, 50.5% of the world's population were people under the age of 30. Around 89.7% of those young people live in emerging and developing economies like the Middle East and Africa. The Canary Islands are named after dogs, not birds. It might seem safe to assume that the Canary Islands were named after canary birds, but the location was actually named for a different animal. Although it's off the coast of northwestern Africa, the archipelago is actually part of Spain. In Spanish, the area's name is Islas Canarias, which comes from the Latin phrase Canarii Insulae for island of dogs. There are 43 countries that still have a royal family. The British royal family may be the most famous royal family on the planet, but there are still plenty of other nobles out there. In total, there are 28 royal families who rule over a total of 43 countries around the world, including Japan, Spain, Swaziland, Bhutan, Thailand, Monaco, Sweden, the Netherlands, and Liechtenstein. New Zealanders have more pets per household than any other country. People who live in New Zealand seem to love having at least one animal companion around. That's why 68% of households in the country have a pet, which is more than any other nation in the world. Americans also happen to love furry friends, which is why more than half of all U.S. homes have either a dog or cat, or both. The coldest temperature ever recorded was -144 degrees Fahrenheit. You might think you're accustomed to frigid air and blustery winds, but the average winter day has nothing on the coldest day ever recorded, which was -144 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature was recorded in Antarctica during a span of research between 2004 and 2016. Just a few breaths of air at that temperature would induce hemorrhaging in your lungs and kill you. People who are currently alive represent about 7% of the total number of people who have ever lived. Here's another world fact to keep in the back of your mind. According to the Population Reference Bureau, Since the time Homo sapiens first hit the scene 50,000 years ago, more than 108 billion members of our species have been born. And a large chunk of that number is alive right now. According to the Bureau, the number of people alive today represents a whopping 7% of the total number of humans who have ever lived. The world's most densely populated island is the size of 2 soccer fields. Santa Cruz del Islote in the archipelago of San Bernardo off the coast of Colombia may only be about the size of 2 soccer fields, 2 acres, but the artificial island has 4 main streets and 10 neighborhoods. 500 people live on the island in around 155 houses. With so many people packed into such a small space, it's the most densely populated island in the world, according to The Guardian. Africa and Asia are home to nearly 90% of the world's rural population. Not everyone lives in a booming city or sprawling suburb. Many people still make their homes outside of bustling locations, especially in India, which has the largest number of people living in rural areas. Approximately 893 million people live outside of the city, according to Reuters. China also has an impressively large rural population, with 578 million living outside of major centers. Tokyo is the world's largest city with 37 million inhabitants. Tokyo is a booming city, not only by Japanese standards, but also compared to cities around the world. With around 37 million people living in Tokyo, it's the world's largest city when it comes to population size, according to Reuters. The next largest city is Delhi, India, population 29 million, and Shanghai, China, population 26 million. Indonesia is home to some of the shortest people in the world. Though there are short people and tall people everywhere, Indonesia is home to some of the shortest people in the world, according to data compiled from various global sources by The Telegraph in 2017. When taking both genders into account, the average adult is around 5 feet, 1.8 inches. People in Bolivia don't tend to be much taller, with an average adult height of 5 feet, 2.4 inches. The tallest people among us live in the Netherlands, where the average adult height is 6 feet. Climate change is causing flowers to change color. Don't worry, your prized red roses aren't going to turn turquoise overnight, but an increase in UV radiation due to the ozone layer deteriorating over the past decades has caused flowers all over the globe to change. A 2020 study led by Clemson University scientists determined that the UV pigmentation in flowers has increased over time, which has led to the degradation of their pollen. Although we can't see the color change with our eyes, it is a big problem for pollinators like bees who are attracted to the bright colors that flowers produce. The hottest chili pepper in the world is so hot it could kill you. The weapons-grade Dragon's Breath chili pepper is so hot it's downright deadly. If you ate one, it could potentially cause a type of anaphylactic shock, burning your airways and closing them up. I've tried it on the tip of my tongue and it just burned and burned, said Mike Smith, the hobby grower who invented the Dragon's Breath along with scientists from Nottingham University. So why make such an impractical pepper? As it turns out, the chili was initially developed to be used in medical treatment as an anesthetic that can numb the skin. The most expensive coin in the world was sold for more than $7 million. The 1933 Double Eagle was a $20 US coin made of gold that never went into circulation. A few of the coins were made, but most were destroyed, save for 9 that were presumed stolen by U.S. Mint workers. After years circulating the globe and falling into the hands of a few notable owners, including the King of Egypt, one of the coins was auctioned off at Sotheby's in 2002 for a stunning $7,590,020. That made it the most expensive coin ever sold at auction. There's only one country in the world that doesn't use the metric system. For simplicity's sake, most of the more than 200 countries in the world use the metric system when describing things like length or mass. However, there were recently 3 countries that stood out: Liberia, Myanmar, and the United States. In 2018, Liberia Commerce and Industry Minister Wilson Tarpe said the government planned to adopt the metric system in order to promote accountability and transparency in trade, according to the Liberian Observer. Myanmar made a similar commitment, which leaves the U.S. as the lone holdout. The oceans contain almost 200,000 different viruses. The next time you feel like taking a dip in the big blue ocean, you might not want to think about the fact that the seemingly pristine water is home to almost 200,000 different kinds of viruses. While this may sound scary, Matthew Sullivan, a microbiologist at The Ohio State University, told CNN, having that roadmap of what viruses exist helps us do a lot of the things we'd be interested in to better understand the ocean and, I hate to say it, but maybe to have to engineer the ocean at some point to combat climate change. New creatures have been found in deep-sea volcanoes. Finding previously undiscovered organisms in the depths of the ocean may sound like something straight out of a sci-fi horror film, but a 2020 study of a deep-sea volcano near New Zealand, published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America, uncovered over 90 putative bacterial and archaeal genomic families in nearly 300 previously unknown genera. Some research has linked hydrothermal vents, like deep-sea volcanoes, to the origin of life. So are we looking at the early signs of future land dwellers? We'll have to wait and see. More people visit France than any other country. France is a beautiful country, filled to the brim with delicious wines, scrumptious cheese, and tons of romance. So it's no surprise that more people want to visit France than any other country in the world, according to the United Nations World Tourism Organization. In 2017, the European country welcomed 86.9 million people. Spain was the second most popular destination with 81.8 million visitors, followed by the United States, 76.9 million, China, 60.7 million, and Italy, 58.3 million. Dentistry is the oldest profession in the world. Dentistry goes all the way back to when humans first had teeth, well, not quite that long. However, one study found evidence of teeth being drilled in skulls that dates from 7,500 to 9,000 years ago. The holes were likely made using a prehistoric bow drill. Could that be the work of the first dentist? Other biting research, conducted by the University of Bologna, Italy on a 14,000-year-old skull, found that one rotten tooth in the jaw had been deliberately scoured and scraped with a tool, according to the BBC. That makes dentistry one of the oldest recorded professions and is definitely a reason to smile. Mount Everest is bigger now than the last time it was measured. Mount Everest may not have physically grown, having reached maturity a long time ago. However, the most recent measurement performed by surveyors representing China and Nepal has the mountain peak standing taller than we'd thought in the past. Previous readings have ranged from 29,002 feet above sea level in 1856 down to 20,029 in 1955, according to NPR. But after the long process of measuring the mountain with GPS devices, experts have now stated that Mount Everest stands at a whopping 29,031.69 feet, due to plate tectonics. There are more twins now than ever before. You might think twins are a rarity, but they're actually becoming more common than ever. From about 1915, when the statistical record begins, until 1980, about 1 in every 50 babies born was a twin, a rate of 2%, writes Alexis C. Madrigal of The Atlantic. Then, the rate began to increase. By 1995, it was 2.5%. The rate surpassed 3% in 2001 and hit 3.3% in 2010. That means, 1 out of every 30 babies born is a twin. Scientists believe this trend is due to the fact that older women tend to have more twins, and women are choosing to start families later. Whale songs can be used to map out the ocean floor. Fin whales are basically the Barry White of the ocean. The deep, bellowing songs that males use to attract mates are considered to be the loudest of all marine life and can be heard up to 1,000 kilometers, 600 miles, away, according to Scientific American. They can also be used to sonically map out the ocean floor thanks to the fact that the sound can reach depths of 2.5 kilometers, 1.6 miles, under the water, which bounces back and provides researchers with accurate measurements. Beyond that, a 2021 study in Science showed how using a fin whale's song can be far more useful and have less of a negative impact on sea life than using a large air gun, which is the typical tool researchers rely on.